Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my English story channel. Today is my first snow day. The sky was a dull, heavy gray when I woke up. It was the kind of gray that felt close to the ground, like a thick blanket. I looked out my bedroom window and gasped. Everything was white. The grass, the trees, and the roof of the house next door were all covered in soft, fluffy snow. This was it, my very first snow day. I grew up in a place where the sun always shone and the ground was always warm. I had seen snow in movies, but I had never touched it. Today, that was going to change. Getting ready. I ran downstairs. My mother was already in the kitchen drinking tea. She looked at me and smiled. "It's a big day," she said, "but you cannot go out like that. You will freeze." I spent the next 30 minutes putting on layers of clothes. First, I put on 2 pairs of socks. Then I put on thick pants and a heavy sweater. Finally, I put on a bright red coat, a scarf, and a hat that covered my ears. I felt like a giant marshmallow. It was hard to move my arms, but I didn't care. I was ready to see the world. My father was in the garage. "We need to go to the store to get some bread and milk," he said. "Do you want to come in the car?" I nodded quickly. I wanted to see how the car would move on the white ground. The cold air. When we opened the garage door, the cold air hit my face. It felt like 1,000 tiny needles poking my skin. It wasn't bad, though. It felt fresh and clean. I took a deep breath, and I saw a little cloud come out of my mouth. "Look!" I shouted. "I'm like a dragon!" My father laughed. "That is just your breath in the cold air. Come on, jump in." The car was very cold inside. The seats felt like ice. My father started the engine, and we waited for the heater to warm up. I looked out the window. Our driveway was hidden under 5 inches of snow. I wondered if the car would get stuck. The journey begins. As we backed out of the driveway, I heard a new sound. Crunch, crunch, crunch. It was the sound of the heavy tires pressing down on the fresh snow. It sounded like someone chewing on crackers. The road was very quiet. Usually there are many cars and people walking dogs, but today it was like a ghost town. The world felt muffled, as if someone had turned down the volume on a radio. "We have to drive very slowly," my father explained. "The snow makes the road slippery. If I hit the brakes too hard, the car will slide like a toy on a wood floor." I watched him turn the steering wheel carefully. We passed a park where children were already building a snowman. One boy was rolling a giant ball of snow. It was already up to his waist. I waved at them from the window, and they waved back with their thick mittens. A world of white. Everything looked different from the car window. The pine trees looked like they were wearing white dresses. The stop signs had little white hats on top of them. Even the ugly trash cans in front of people's houses looked pretty because they were covered in sparkling frost. The sun started to peek through the clouds. Suddenly, the snow began to shine. It looked like millions of tiny diamonds were scattered across the ground. I had to squint because it was so bright. "It's beautiful," I whispered. "It is," my father agreed. "But look at the road. See those dark spots? That is ice. We call it black ice because you can't see it easily. It is very dangerous for cars." I watched the road closely. I felt a little bit of fear, but mostly I felt wonder. We were moving through a magical world that didn't exist yesterday. The grocery store. When we got to the store, the parking lot was a mess. A big truck with a yellow shovel on the front was pushing the snow into a giant pile in the corner. "That is a snowplow," my father said. We parked the car and stepped out. My boots sank deep into the snow. It went all the way up to my knees. I tried to walk, but it was difficult. I felt like I was walking through thick mud,
but it was cold and light. I reached down and picked up a handful of snow. I expected it to feel like ice cubes, but it was different. It was soft and grainy. I squeezed it in my hand, and it turned into a hard ball. "A snowball," I said. I threw it at a lamppost. Thump! It stuck to the metal. I felt a surge of joy. Inside the store, everyone was talking about the weather. "Did you see how much fell? The radio says more is coming. I hope the power stays on." It felt like a big party. Even though it was cold, people seemed warmer to each other. They were smiling and sharing stories about other big storms they remembered. The journey home. We bought our bread and milk and headed back to the car. By now, the wind was picking up. Small flakes of snow were swirling in the air. "We should get home before the wind gets stronger," my father said. As we drove back, I saw a car on the side of the road. Its tires were spinning in the snow, making a loud whirring noise, but the car wasn't moving. "Should we help?" I asked. "The police are already there," my father pointed. A police car with blue and red lights was parked behind them. The lights looked very bright against the white snow. I realized then that the snow was not just a toy, it was powerful. It could stop big machines and change how everyone lived their day. It made me respect the cold. Safe and sound. When we pulled back into our driveway, I felt a little sad that the journey was over, but I was also very cold. My toes were starting to feel numb, and my nose was red. I took off my heavy coat and my wet boots. My socks were a little damp, so I put on a fresh, dry pair. I sat by the window with a warm mug in my hands. I watched the snow continue to fall. My first snow day was exactly how I imagined it, but also different. I didn't know it would be so quiet. I didn't know the car would make that crunching sound. And I didn't know that a simple drive to the store could feel like a grand adventure. Key things I learned. Feature, what I noticed. Sound, the world is very quiet and the snow crunches under tires. Sight, snow looks like diamonds when the sun hits it. Feel, it is soft at first, but turns hard and icy when you squeeze it. Safety, cars must go very slow because the ground is slippery. I looked out the driveway. The tracks our car made were already being filled with new snow. Soon it would look like we had never left. I smiled, took a sip of my cocoa, and started planning the snowman I would build tomorrow.